Could the 2024 presidential election be a history-making rematch? That's the question on everyone's mind as we gear up for what could be a political face-off of epic proportions. Incumbent President Joe Biden, a Democrat, is running for re-election, while former President Donald Trump, a Republican, is also running for a second non-consecutive term. If this happens, it would be the first time we've seen a presidential rematch since 1956. That's over 7 decades ago. Now, while these two heavyweights are set to duke it out, they're not the only ones in the ring. Other contenders from both major parties have thrown their hats into the ring, adding more flavor to an already tantalizing race. This election promises to go down in the annals of history for more reasons than one. The stakes are high, the players are ready, and the stage is set for a showdown that could potentially reshape the political landscape of the United States, so brace yourself for a potentially historic rematch. Ever wondered how the Supreme Court could decide the 2024 election? Well, let's dive into that. The Supreme Court has a significant role in the United States electoral process, and it could potentially impact the 2024 election in a few ways. One of the scenarios where the Supreme Court could be called upon to adjudicate is if there are disputes over election laws or procedures. For instance, if there are disagreements about how votes should be counted or what constitutes a valid vote. The court's role then would be to interpret the law and make a ruling that would guide the resolution of the dispute. Another scenario could be a contested election result. If the election result is close, and there are allegations of irregularities or fraud, the Supreme Court might be asked to rule on these issues. The court's decision could then determine the final outcome of the election. In fact, the Supreme Court has been involved in past elections. For example, in the 2000 presidential election, the court played a crucial role in deciding the outcome of the race between George W. Bush and Al Gore. The court's decision ended a recount in Florida and effectively awarded the presidency to Bush. So it's clear that the Supreme Court isn't just a passive spectator in the electoral process. Depending on the circumstances, it could actively shape the outcome of the election. The Supreme Court could indeed play a vital role in deciding the election. Did you know that the Electoral College votes are being reapportioned? Yes. Following the 2020 census, the Electoral College votes are being redistributed, a process that will inevitably impact the electoral map. This redistribution is a regular adjustment based on population changes across the states, which ensures that each state's electoral votes reflect its current share of the nation's population. Now, this doesn't mean the total number of electoral votes changes. It remains at 538. What changes is the distribution of those votes across the 50 states and the District of Columbia. So, some states may gain votes, while others may lose them. But why does this matter? Well, the Electoral College determines the outcome of the presidential election, not the popular vote. This means that the states with more electoral votes have a bigger say in who becomes the president. Additionally, let's not forget the crucial role swing states will play in this scenario. States like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, due to their volatile political leanings, can tip the scales in favor of either candidate. The outcome in these states is often unpredictable, adding a layer of suspense to the race. The changing electoral map is sure to make the 2024 election even more interesting. Are demographic shifts and voter trends altering the political landscape? Let's dive into this fascinating topic. The political landscape in America is a dynamic entity, constantly morphing and changing. This is often due to demographic shifts in key states such as Iowa, Ohio, Florida, Colorado, New Mexico, and Virginia. These shifts, whether they be an increase in certain age groups, ethnicities, or socioeconomic classes, can drastically change the political leanings of a state. For example, in recent years we've seen an increase in the Hispanic populations in states like Florida and New Mexico. This has the potential to influence the political leanings of these states, as each demographic group can have unique political priorities and preferences. But demographic shifts aren't the only factors at play here. Voter trends among different groups are also showing signs of change. Recent polling data suggests some interesting shifts in party preferences. Hispanic, Asian, Arab, and youth voters who once predominantly leaned Democratic are now showing a tilt towards the Republican Party. Conversely, older voters and whites, traditionally a reliable base for Republicans, are trending Democratic. It's important to note that while polling data can provide insight into potential trends, they do not always translate into actual voting behavior. There are many factors at play on Election Day, including voter turnout, current events, and candidates' campaign strategies. In conclusion, demographic shifts and changing voter trends are shaping the U.S. political landscape in new and interesting ways. These shifts and trends could significantly influence the election outcome. Are you aware of the key dates and deadlines for the 2024 presidential election? As we journey towards the 2024 presidential election, there are a few important dates and deadlines to keep in mind. In the months leading up to the election, each party will host their nominating conventions. These are key events where the parties officially choose their nominees, setting the stage for the election race. Following these conventions, the election day is set for November 5, 2024. This is the day when voters across the United States will cast their votes and play their part in shaping the future of the nation. However, the election process doesn't end there. After the votes have been cast and counted, the winner of the presidential election will be inaugurated on January 20, 2025. This is a significant date, as it marks the official start of the new presidential term. But remember, these dates are just a guide. They are subject to change, and it's crucial to stay updated with the latest information. Regularly checking election calendars and news sources will ensure you don't miss any changes or important updates. So whether you're a voter, a political enthusiast, or simply someone who likes to stay informed, these dates are important markers on the journey to the 2024 presidential election. Mark these dates on your calendar to stay informed and engaged with the 2024 presidential election.